Let's talk about scope. No, not the mouthwash. Although, let me know if you'd rather watch me do mouthwash reviews. Anyways, I'm talking about the scope of a video game, specifically the right scope for what a game is trying to do. Scope is defined as the extent of the area or subject matter that something deals with or to which it is relevant. So, in our case, we're talking about games, what they're trying to give the player, the experience they're trying to create, and sometimes the stories they're trying to tell. Not that all games need stories. Tetris is the perfect example of a game with super small scope. Falling blocks, high scores, that's it. And that's perfect. If you added an open world, side quest, dialogue options, it would totally ruin what the game functionally is. Its limited scope is what makes it great. On the flip side, some games aim too high and it ends up hurting them. A solid example of this is the 2023 Square Enix game Forspoken. It had cool aesthetics and the core gameplay actually felt pretty good. But all the good that Forspoken did was lost by being stretched across this massive, uninspired world. The scope just kind of swallowed it up. So if it had good ideas, why did it fall apart? I think it simply tried to do too much. The vision either outgrew the budget or maybe the passion just wasn't there to see it through. And that brings up a bigger question. How do you know if a game is scoped correctly? Have any games other than the sweet and simple Tetris really nailed it? Well, I just rolled credits on Batman Arkham Asylum, and after a couple long reflective showers, I genuinely think it might be one of the best examples of perfect scope in a game. So let's break it down and use it as an example to find out what makes the perfect game scope, and how other games can learn from it. Arkham Asylum takes place entirely on Arkham Island, and you might think, wait, the whole game takes place on a single island? But yeah, and it works beautifully. It follows a classic gated progression structure. Certain areas are locked off until you get the right gadget or hit a story milestone. It's very Metroidvania-like in that way. But the game actually uses these limitations correctly and manages to make backtracking fun. You do revisit areas, but there's always a new reason. Maybe someone's been kidnapped and brought to a previous location, or you've got a new tool that lets you explore deeper. Each return gives you a little more, and the game keeps it interesting by changing it up every time you return. It adds enemies or alters the aesthetic, so nothing ever feels stale. The island is consistently growing and evolving like it itself is a character in the story. Even the smaller rooms act like little puzzles. You'll drop into a space full of enemies with gargoyles overhead, and it's up to you how you approach it. You can take the stealth route, hugging everyone into sweet cuddly naps, go in fist blazing, doling out teeth loosening justice, or channel the twisted Joker himself and set booby traps and watch your master plan unfold. It's totally your call. Basically, you may be retreading old ground, but the game makes it feel like you're making progress, and that's smart design. Let's talk about combat. By today's standards, it's pretty basic. Punch, counter, dodge roll, cape stun, batarang, but here's what makes it stand out. It rewards you for slowing down. You can't just button mash. That'll mess up your combo, and the combos are what give you those sweet instant takedowns. You've got to be very deliberate. Punch, counter, jump, it feels very smooth once you're locked into the rhythm, but it's not necessarily easy, if that makes sense. You don't have a ton of health, so slipping up has real consequences. And that ties beautifully into Batman himself. He doesn't have superpowers. The game makes you feel like you're just barely strong enough, smart enough, fast enough to get through each scenario. Batman may be on the edge of what's humanly possible, but he's still human. His superpower is basically being the best at everything, without being overpowered in any way. It's a really grounded take on a hero. I also love how the game justifies why you don't have all your gear from the start. The game opens with you dropping off Joker at Arkham like you've done so many times before, but then it gets out of hand, and as the night unfolds, Batman starts pulling in more of his arsenal as it's needed. He grabs gear from the mini Batcave on the island, or calls in a drop from the Batwing. It's a smart way to handle the whole "why don't I have all my toys yet" question that most Metroidvanias just kinda handwave. On a different note, there are collectibles if you're someone that likes to take breaks between big story moments. Riddler trophies, audio logs, little story beats, some trophies you find with new gear, others by solving riddles or noticing weird environmental clues. I didn't really get it at first, but once I did, it was actually kind of addicting to find those glowing green question marks. Okay, let's talk boss fights. After all, Batman has some of the most iconic villains in the business. The game does a great job at making every single one feel different. Sure, they're not super deep mechanically, mostly wait for a vulnerable moment and strike, but they each use something you've learned and they're placed in unique biomes that make the encounter feel fresh. The game doesn't spell out what to do either, which gives you space to experiment and feel clever. And all of this is happening in a single night. As the game progresses, Batman's suit gets ripped up, his face shows wear. It's subtle, but it reinforces the idea that this is one long, exhausting night for old Batsy Boy. And that's where the scope really shines. It's tight, it's layered, it's like a beautifully made cake. Every layer has detail, care, and polish. It's contained, but that just lets every part shine. On the other hand, some games can bite off more than they can chew. No pun intended. And using the same cake metaphor, imagine that beautiful cake sliced and spread out over a huge table, with wide gaps between each of them. It throws off the pacing. It makes the experience feel disjointed and bloated. That's what a game feels like when its scope gets too big without enough stuff to fill it. Even Arkham City, the sequel to Asylum, expands the world in many great ways, but I would argue it lost a little of that tight, focused feel that Asylum had. It's still a great game, just with a different scope and inevitably a different outcome. So if a dev wants to nail scope, I think it comes down to this. Zoom in on what works, find the fun, and explore it from every angle. If a section feels dull or empty, it might be a sign that the scope is too big. Trim it back, focus in, keep the experience even and engaging from start to finish. Some games are designed to be sprawling slow burns, and that's fine too. But if you're aiming for tight and focused, then tight and focused has to be the guiding light all the way through. So I'm curious, what other games do you think master the idea of scope? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like this kind of content, consider leaving a like and subscribe to GooseQuest. See you next time.